Hey, Instagram, it's Seth coming to you with Taylor using new technology. We're doing it remote. We're also going to be on Facebook and LinkedIn. Taylor, did I say the wrong thing already, or are we okay?
We are on Facebook and we're on Instagram today, not LinkedIn, but it'll be reposted.
Okay, and we're going to repost on LinkedIn. Anyway, I wanted to check in with everybody because the world is topsy-turvy, and the more we can find the others and be with each other, the easier it is to do this productive work. So, Taylor, take it away.
All right, so we're going to be talking about generosity and guilt today. I think that one of the things I was feeling inside of my feed, let me see here, Seth. I don't think we're live yet officially on Facebook. I don't want to do this wrong. We're testing a lot of new things today. Hang on.
So while you're checking that, first Instagram question, is the freelancer workshop up? We decided to postpone the launch for a little while because sheltering in place is also an emotional choice. But soon we will relaunch the freelancers workshop. We're eager to have you join us there, but lots more to come.
Okay, we are officially live on Facebook. So
okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Seth and Taylor here, reporting remotely. So we're going to be talking about guilt and generosity today. One of the things I've been feeling as I've been going through my different social media feeds is that there's not really the conversation happening about people feeling guilt of, am I going to pass on this coronavirus to other people? You know, that's a big thing that people wondering. Am I not going to be the same person when I'm at home that I am at work now that I'm remote working? Can I be a great parent and also be a good worker at the same time with all the kids being home? So we're going to dig into that a little bit, and then also generosity, how to show up generously during this tough time. First let's start with a riff from Seth, but if you guys want to drop your comments and questions below, as always, I'll be here to read them.
First, thank you. And to everyone who is having an extraordinarily tough time with their health, our heart goes out to you. This is really a transformative moment in our culture around the world. It's a pandemic, and I am wishing health and peace of mind to everybody. That said, 98% of us aren't currently engaged in a health battle. We're engaged in a battle with fear and dislocation. And that can lead to guilt for a whole bunch of reasons. But guilt can be a choice if we want it to be. And the antidote to guilt is action and generosity. The action of finding someone who needs to hear from you, finding someone who needs something you can offer them, finding someone who needs to be seen. And the generosity of showing up, and showing up in a way that uses our own emotional energy to overcome fear. Because it's natural to be afraid in a time when we want the world to go back to the way it was and we know it won't, and we're not sure what's going to happen next. And so finding the others, connecting to the others, and leading, because if you're watching this, it means you have access to a device, an extraordinary device that would have been a miracle 50 years ago, that connects you to 1 billion people around the world. And there's someone somewhere who needs you to say, follow me. Someone somewhere who needs you to make a connection for them and help them go to the next place. And that is what we are capable of doing. If we are lucky enough to be healthy, if we're lucky enough to be sheltering in place to press the peak of this virus, then yeah, we have an obligation. And the obligation is to weave together possibility and to make things better, even if we feel like curling up in a ball underneath the table. That's not going to help. What's going to help is becoming a better version of ourselves. And when you think back or think forward 3 months from now, or 9 months from now, or 3 years from now, or 30 years from now, what kind of person were you now? Well, that's the choice we get to make every day with the actions that we take. So that's a micro rant for you, Taylor, and let's do some questions.
Awesome, sounds good. Well, we had some people throw some questions in earlier today on Instagram, so I'm going to start with those, but we do have some other ones coming in, and I think this will be a hot topic. So we have one from Shad, and he's wondering how he can still be seen as exceptional while at home working remotely on a computer.
Right. So I've written a couple posts about this. I hope that you'll get a chance to check them out in the last week or so. Here's the deal. People are going to look back at the old world where we commuted an hour, put on fancy clothes, sat in an office, and went to meetings we didn't want to go to as bizarrely antiquated, like pre-electricity. Because what we know, and we do this every day at Akimbo, is that you can go faster, make a bigger impact, speak more truth, connect more people, and make a bigger difference without sitting in the same room as other people. Now, if you want to hide, it's way easier to hide at home. If you have a boss who is insisting on an industrial regime to force people to comply like you're in 5th grade or like you're in college with the whole clicker nonsense, then it's going to be harder. But that doesn't mean you still can't lead, because leadership almost always comes from the grassroots. It's not the bottom. None of us are the bottom, but it might be the grassroots, closest to the customer, closest to the work. So what does it mean to not seek authority but take responsibility? To show up and connect the others. If there are 10 of you working from home, what's going to keep you from organizing a lunchtime Zoom chat just to keep people in sync? What's going to stop you from using your commuting time to write up that scary document that everyone else has been afraid of? That leadership in the digital, electronic, connected world isn't about management. It's about being brave enough to be a linchpin and acting that way. And it might be, if that's your instinct, that this is an opportunity for you to become that kind of person at work.
All right, cool. So this one's a live question from Instagram from Samar. And you touched on this a little bit about remote working and how you do have a blog post, seth.blog, if you want to read the full thing. He actually posted one about remote working yesterday on Instagram. But if you had 2 tips for best practices for remote working, what would those be?
Tip number 1 is working at 70% level for 30% more time is a really good way to burn out. That no one is going to win a prize for being online all the time. You will win a prize for being extraordinary when you are online. That it is possible to get an enormous amount done when you're not getting distracted. And getting stuff done is different than always being on alert. So that's the first thing. I would make specific hours and I would keep them. And then the second tip I would have is to realize that you can get your soul filled by doing something other than talking to the people from work. And that might mean going for a walk around the block by yourself. And it might mean getting on a Zoom call with one colleague face to face to talk about something that isn't necessarily work. That we built this whole bundle of stuff and we called it work, but it's got a lot of old-fashioned things built in. So a quick little historical aside. The reason that factories were organized in a straight line is because when we had only steam power, they would turn one pipe that would go the whole length of the factory. And then if you came to work, you would throw a leather belt over the pipe. And whenever you needed to turn a tool, you would just pull it down and it would turn. And so we have the assembly line, not the assembly circle. And then landlords came along and we needed office space. And so offices were designed the way they were designed, and on and on. And my friend, the late Jay Chiat, one of the great ad gurus of all time from Chiat Day, responsible for the Super Bowl commercial of 1984, he said, wait, why am I paying all this money for rent? And he got rid of all the offices. And at Chiat Day, you would walk in, they would hand you a portable phone. There were no cell phones. They would hand you a laptop, and you would find a place to sit. It was the original WeWork. And what was fascinating about it was, on one hand, how productive it was because people sat with the people they worked with and ignored everyone else. And second, how much it freaked everybody out. Freaked them out. Where's my stuff? Well, as George Carlin has pointed out, we already have at least one place to keep our stuff, and supply lines are getting thin.